Hey, are you ready to take control of your financial future? Welcome to Private Money Club. Private Money Club is the ultimate online platform connecting real estate entrepreneurs with private money lenders just like you. Whether you're looking to fund your next deal or lend money to grow your wealth, Private Money Club is your go-to resource. You can post deals, find funding, connect with other like-minded professionals. It's just a community. It's a community that you need to plug into. If you're new to the game, no problem. Our Learn platform and our weekly coaching webinars and our on-demand resources are here to guide you every step of the way. Join a thriving network of real estate experts who are already making an impact, and they're waiting to partner with you. So Private Money Club gives you the tools, the training, the connections, and everything you need to achieve your financial goals. So why don't you start now by going to privatemoneyclub.com. We'll see you inside. Hey, you need to become your own bank. And it's as simple as changing one thing, and that is where your money goes first. I mean, think about it. Household debts in this country are at all-time highs. You got tons of market volatility. You got the potential for Social Security running out of money. You've got global uncertainty, political divide, and you have to figure out where you're going to put your hard-earned savings. I mean, this is one of those times in history where the rich are getting richer, and it is time to learn the secrets of the wealthy. But here's the good news. Every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I put on a free webinar where I teach you how to take back control of your money by teaching you how to become your own bank. So click the link below and let's get started. So let's go into the app, because the app was created after a dating site, believe it or not. So people with money and people that need money. Phone, swipe left. Swipe left. Ooh, I like that one. Swipe right. You want to go on. If you got money, you want to swipe left through all the deals. When you find one you like, boom, you're connected. How much more difficult does this really need to be? This isn't rocket science. They want you to think it is because they want control of your money. It is time to take back control of our money. I want to invite you to a free interactive webinar that we're doing to teach you how to get prepared for what's about to happen and how you can grow, preserve, and protect your wealth and get it ready for a recession or maybe the next Great Depression. So all I need you to do is click the link below. You're not going to want to miss this with all this stuff going on. Are you sick of having your money lying around not doing anything? Well, we've got the solution for you. PrivateMoneyClub.com. Back to you, Chris. So that's what it is. Private Money Club was created for you and for all of us. So I've got something special. Since you're here, you're listening to us talk to you about the infinite banking concept, I wanted to make an offer. Private Money Club is something that will benefit each of you, but we've got what's called the Accelerator. The Private Money Club Accelerator is a coaching program that takes together the knowledge that you'll need to be your own bank and puts it together with the opportunities in Private Money Club so that now you learn and apply the knowledge. Check it out. We got a very special offer for you to be part of the next Accelerator coaching program and get you into Private Money Club so your money starts working for you.
Hey everybody, it's Buff Finance Guy here, ready to show you how to make some serious gains, but not only in the gym, with your wallet too. Most people put their money in the bank doing absolutely nothing for them, but I'm gonna show you how it doesn't have to be that way. So take Andrew here. His money has just been sitting lazy in the bank, but all he has to do is change one thing, and that's where the money goes first, and everything changes. Just change where your money goes first, silly.
Wait, just one change?
Yeah, that's it. Instead of sending it to the bank, you send it to your very own banking system. And your money can grow and get stronger, just like me.
It's time for Money School TV. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth.
And The Money School TV strives to bring you the most relevant content of how money really works, past, present, and future. It's not a one-size-fits-all system. This platform provides you with ways to implement strategic decisions while avoiding fear-based decisions at all costs. Totally digital with new content added all the time on financial wealth creation strategies and how to regain control of your money. This 2-hour monthly group coaching with Chris Snoggle is available now for only $19 per month. This is something you don't want to miss. Click the link below to get access now.
Whoa! I feel great. My money's not being lazy anymore, it's getting swole. Just like me.
Attaboy, Andrew. No more lazy cash. Now your money is growing, strong, totally under your control.
Wow, thanks, Buff Bayonet Sky. Now I'm ready to grow my wealth and feel as good as I look.
So if you want to learn more on how you can compound your money and your muscles, I'm at BYOB.
You have to be a part of it.
Do whatever it takes to get here.
Get your ass up and come.
So here we are out in Las Vegas, Nevada, at Dream Racing for the experience. We brought the whole team, the whole clan out here to race exotic sports cars like this GT4 RS. This is what making memories is all about.
Together, we create experiences for each other, around each other, and memories we get to create.
This is my third experience, and I love it. Being at the experience brings out the camaraderie, being around like-minded people. It just brings out the best in you.
I don't know why the rest of you aren't here. It's an amazing event. I have never missed one since they started 3 years ago.
The breathing exercises to the mental, the Brent Kessler to now the racing to just the overall mindset. Your network is your net worth.
We can sit in a room all day, listen to the speakers, or we can come out here, make some quick laps, learn how to drive, and make memories that last a lifetime. You should be here next time.
Well, the biggest thing I hope that people get is something that they can actually apply in their lives. You know, that's the biggest thing for any of these events that we want. We want people to leave here not just riled up, not just excited, but actually going out and doing something that'll put them in a better financial situation, help their family. And for the speakers, my goal is that they go out and they impact the audience and bring something the audience never had exposure to that allows them to then fill in that piece that they're looking for.
I'm going to be talking about more lease options. I'm going to be talking about equity shares. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of fun stuff today. Because again, I'm not here to teach about how to do those deals. I'm here to teach about how to invest in those deals.
Filled with individuals that are like-minded, that are at the top of their craft, they're at the top of their game. And for anybody that's an attendee, it's just a mind-blowing experience.
It's almost going to be hard to speak anywhere else but here because it was such a great experience. I felt like, I don't know. It was amazing. Nothing less than amazing, literally.
At the PMC Money Tank event, which is an epic event that we're putting together that does one thing and one thing only, makes everybody money. It brings people with money together with people that need money. It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You just smash them together and everybody wins.
Wednesday, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Do it live!
All right. Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to another What the F Happened. My name's Stephen Nagy. I'll be hosting the show today. Mr. Chris Noggle is traveling. He's actually up in Cincinnati, Ohio right now. He's visiting one of the mutually owned life insurance companies, their headquarters, meeting with company leadership and executives, and just continuing to build our relationship with the company that's up there in Cincinnati, known as Lafayette Life Insurance Company, which is a subsidy of the Western and Southern Group. Incredible history of being a mutually owned company, solid dividends for many, many years. And of course, one of the companies that we use to design the specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy so you can become your own bank and practice the infinite banking concept. But we're not here today to talk about IBC. We're here this morning to talk about what the F is going on in the news, what's going on in the USA, what's going on in the world, and a whole long list. So there's a lot happening this last week, like it seems every week these days. It is myself today, so please, guys, help me out over in the comments. Let me know what you think on some of these topics. I'm going to read the comments. We're going to make it interactive. We're going to have some fun up here. So we're going to get into some different topics today. I have Trump taking over the police in Washington, D.C. Is that fascism? Is that dictator? Or is that something that's been long overdue? Let me know what you think on that. We'll talk a little bit about that takeover, though. Of course, Elon Musk and Sam Harris are battling it out online. They're exchanging tweets back and forth, talking trash. Who's a better person? Who's got better AI? Who's a liar? Pretty wild to see two multi-billionaires going at it publicly online. What do you think? Are you using ChatGPT or are you trusting Elon Musk Grok with your AI usage? What do you think? We'll talk a little bit about that. Is the housing market finally turning? What are you seeing in your area? What's the anecdotal evidence? Is it becoming a buyer's market again, finally? It seems to be that the seller activity is finally slowing and the buyers are tending to seem to really be growing right now. So is it turning right now? Are we going to see home prices pull back and drop? What are you seeing in your area? Of course, the Fed has come out. They're not expected to make any rate cuts, it seems, this year. Trump is threatening lawsuits over it. And he's also starting to put out his list of who he wants to replace Jerome Powell. So how many days does Jerome Powell have left as the head of the Federal Reserve System? Of course, Trump is going to be meeting Russian President Putin in Alaska later this week. What are the implications of that? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? What's going on with the war with Russia and Ukraine? What's going to happen with Gaza? I read a headline that looks like Israel wants to do a full takeover. What's the alternative there? It just seems like a terrible, terrible situation in the Middle East. This war that's been going on well over a year now, since back October 7th of 2023, I guess, right? Already at this point. So what's going to happen with that? Food stamp changes for those that need assistance. Looks like they eliminated sugar we talked about last week, and sugary drinks and candy and things of that nature. Looks like now they're going to implement work requirements. So are people going to be removed from food stamps? Do you agree or disagree with that? And then I got a few what the F videos, moments, things to talk about at the end of the show to have some fun with it and close things down at the end today. So are there any other articles that you guys have seen that we should hit on? Put them over in the comments. We're going to talk about all this stuff today and more. With that said, let me do a quick intro to the first segment, which is the economy. Be right back. All right, cool. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the economy. Of course, headline news out there right now. What's the Federal Reserve doing? Are they going to cut rates this year? Are they not going to? Of course, rates affect almost everything in our lives, from our credit card interest rates to our mortgages to our lines of credit and everything in between. So a lot of people, the way the economy typically works is that when rates are down, banks are able to lend more money. People are able to borrow more money. There's more money that flows through the entire economy and gets things going. When rates rise up, which they've been, up now for, I don't know, the last couple of years at this point. We had to do that to tamp down the rampant inflation that was going on after COVID during the Biden administration and all the spending that occurred, just driving interest rates or inflation up through the ceiling. Rose rates to kind of combat out, got inflation under control, but rates have continued to stay high. Of course, when rates are high, less lending occurs, less borrowing occurs, less money flows, kind of tends to slow down the economy, which brings that inflation down. But now that inflation seems to be pretty under control, the latest inflation reports have been right around that 2.5% mark, which, the Federal Reserve's target rate is 2%. So they seem to be right there, but they're worried. They're worried that the tariffs are going to cause inflation to go up again, continue for rising prices. So they've been cautious on, what they're going to do with rates. So what do you guys think? Should they lower rates? Should they keep them where they are? Should they increase rates? Could that happen? I don't know, but I know that Trump is not happy with it. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll talk a little bit about what's going on with these interest rates. So as you can see, headline news on CNBC.com, Trump considering 11 candidates for Federal Reserve Chair to replace Jerome Powell, including David Zervos and Rick Reeder, sources say. So you can kind of see the picture on the screen here. I won't play the video, but some of the people that are touted to replace Jerome Powell. And so the Trump administration is considering 11 candidates to replace him when his term expires in May, including 3 who have not previously been publicly named, according to 2 administration officials. The new names include Jefferies chief market strategist David Zervos, former Fed Governor Larry Lindsey, and Rick Reeder, chief investment officer for global fixed income at BlackRock. They now join a list of 8 other candidates that CNBC has confirmed are under consideration, including Federal Vice Chair for Supervision Michelle Bowman, Fed Governor Chris Waller, and Fed Vice Chair Philip Jefferson. President Trump has recently told CNBC in an interview that Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council, and former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh were among those on his list as well. The officials described a deliberative process where Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will interview all the candidates, whittle down the list, and pass on the final list to the president for his decision. The longer the process takes, the less likely there is to be so-called shadow Fed chair in place for several months before Powell leaves, which some have suggested would be disruptive for monetary policy. So all that simply means is they're not going to name somebody today that's going to replace him, where that person's kind of in the background, really already making the decisions. They want him to be able to come in smooth and take things over. So something to keep an eye on as they whittle this list down and decide who that next Fed chair is going to be. But what's your opinion? Anybody have any suggestions? What would your pick be if you were the president and could choose the next Federal Reserve? Me personally, I would probably be on the side of those that want to end the Federal Reserve and take back the monetary system in this country and in the world. But a lot of factors go into that that are above my pay grade, as people like to say, right? So let me just check out over here in the comments, making sure what we got going on. So Morgan says, what's up? What the effers? Good morning. What's up, Morgan? Here each and every single week. Appreciate you being on the show. Eve Page, of course, on almost all of our weekly shows. Of course, we do shows almost every single day of the week. We do Money Club Mondays every single Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Every single Tuesday, we do Take Back Control Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, which is the Infinite Banking Concept full training presented by our money mentors. We also have on Wednesdays, this show, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We have Wealth Webinar at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on today. And then at 4:30 Eastern every Wednesday, we do an Ask Me Anything happy hour where we do Brady Bunch style with the money mentors. We answer all of your questions. And then on Thursdays, we do Private Money Club's Quick Start training, which is all about real estate investing and private money lending, how you can get into real estate either on the active or passive side and take advantage of private money by excluding the banks. Forget the banks. You don't need them to do real estate. Anybody can do real estate. You just have to have the education and know where the money is. And that's why Private Money Club was created. Again, we'll talk more about that a little bit later in the show as well. Just want to do a shout out to all of our weekly shows that we have going on. So Aaron says, dictator. Okay. Sean is coming in. What's up, Shauna? Shauna says, explain to a fifth grader. I don't watch the news, so this is all news to me. All right. I'll try and break things down as we get to some of these different topics because, yeah, it's there's a lot going on in the world every single day. And, most of us just don't have the time to really get it. And depending on where you listen and what you read, you're going to hear different opinions. You're going to have one side telling you, it's the end of the world because of this. And the other side telling you it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to the world because of that. And they're talking about the exact same subject. So we'll try and break it down. You make your own decisions. I'm not here to persuade anybody, but I'm also not scared to share my opinions with you guys, as you probably know. Justin's coming in, long overdue in every city where there needs to be accountability in this world. Justin's talking about the takeover of Washington, D.C., which we're definitely going to get into when we get to the U.S. news here in just a moment. DC was out of bounds and needs some kind of intervention. That's what most people seem to agree with, Morgan, for sure. Let's see. Christian said, taking back control of the Washington Police Department is much needed. Justin's coming in. Food stamps should be for essential items only, no junk food or anything along those lines. Justin, I tend to agree with you there. Food stamps and food assistance, and I'm not. I don't have the shame or. I'm not shameful to say that, as a child growing up with a single mom and a brother and sister, we definitely had assistance. We were on food stamps when I was a child, and it helped our family tremendously. It kept us from starving, but that's the use of it, is to help you through hard times where you can get back on your feet. You don't starve. But, even, somebody like myself that doesn't necessarily worry about my next meal and worry about money too much typically. I'm not out there buying tons of junk food. I don't drink sodas, things of that nature, for health reasons. And, even though I have the money to do it. So it's because somebody doesn't have the money to do it. I don't know if they should be spending, you spend on things that are going to make you a better person, allow you to get out there and get off of your, get off the ground and get back on your feet and make things happen. So it looks like they are implementing it, and this does affect the economy. So I'll go ahead and pull it up right now. I just saw this article on CNBC this morning talking about this. And again, guys, I apologize if I'm a little slow pulling up articles today. Usually I'm the one pulling up the articles and the next stories while Chris is sharing his opinion on stuff. But since I'm doing it all today, you guys are just going to have to stick with me while I find some of this stuff. All right. I know I have it on here because I literally just read the story this morning. Food stamps. Food stamps. All right. Well, we'll come back to it. I'm not exactly sure where that went, but the article was simply talking about how the Trump administration is implementing the next stage of these food stamp reforms, which does require which does have a work requirement involved. So not only are they limiting what food stamps can purchase, but also going to limit, I guess how long people can have them, and that they need to go out there and try and get back on their feet. So do you agree with that or not? That's the discussion right now. Lynn saying no one else will clean up the city, and the police said they need and want help. Absolutely. Welfare. Morgan saying welfare should only be available to U.S. citizens that have work requirements if they do not have a job. So that's Morgan's opinion. I think Lafayette Life should lower their policy interest rates. Rob, since you brought that up, nothing, it kind of has to do with the economy, right? I mean, the insurance companies, they set their loan interest rates on a couple different factors. They typically are going to, look at some different bond rates. They're going to mimic some different treasury rates and things of that nature. They also look at their overall business and what they invest in, what that looks like, what the returns are, because, the loan interest is part of their business models. Lafayette did raise their rates a little bit. They've lowered them now recently, or they're talking about going and bringing them back down, I know, very, very soon. And so at the end of the day, though, what are you using those loans for? And how are you paying yourself back as the bank? Because remember, this is simple interest that you're paying on these loans. And so when we've done the calculations, like the difference in a 5% loan rate from the insurance company as opposed to a 7% loan rate from the insurance company. When we run the numbers, using the Vault software, which you guys are going to learn a lot more about very soon. But when we run the numbers, it really doesn't make much of a difference in the grand scheme of things, because you still have that uninterrupted compounding of that money within the policy. And while you're using that money, keeping it moving, you're recapturing interest, or you're bringing in interest from outside investments. And so when you're paying that back through simple interest, at the end of the year, that 7% is not really 7%. And when you compare 5 and 7%, it's really not as much of a difference as you would think that it would be. Because, people see that, 7% loan rate, like that's too much. It's going to ruin everything I'm doing. It really doesn't. So if you're worried about it, come to us. Let us run the numbers, show you mathematically what that looks like. And I think it'll ease some of your concerns and worries, Rob, a little bit, or anybody else that's thinking that same way. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Justin said, still way better than credit card and PL rates, though, even most HELOCs. So I'd rather pay Lafayette's rate 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Dexter's coming in from San Diego, California. Of course, Dexter's a long time BYOB campfire follower and one of our good friends, clients that's become a good friend. Dexter said welfare payments should be paid after volunteer hours are completed and job seeking applications are verified. So Dexter's even taken it a step further here, saying not only should you receive the food stamps, but maybe you should put in some volunteer hours to be able to do so. So there's a take for you. Barger said Trump needs to focus on California, too much homelessness and red tape for everything. Yeah, bringing that up real fast, talking about real estate in the U.S. economy, obviously they have those fires out there in Malibu and the Palisades, and now all of this is coming out. You have all these people online. I know Grant Cardone just came out. Adam Carolla was talking about it a couple months ago, but they're all getting these notices now that the only way they'll be able to rebuild is if they completely change their infrastructure. They're being required to put in all new septic systems and water systems and rebuild the infrastructure. A lot of the properties that are on the water, they're being required to build underground seawalls and really beef up the wall that's between the property line and the ocean. And I see a lot of these properties also, the requirements of them being built up above the ground, possibly on stilts or different foundations compared to what's there now. So they're saying not only is that a huge financial burden, they're looking at, they're saying $3, $4, $5 million they're going to have to put back into these properties before they're even allowed to start building on them. And so for a lot of people, that's just not affordable. It's unfeasible. And so, the worry has always been, California is going to step in and take this property from people. They're going to use it to build affordable housing, things like that in those areas people are against, and people are going to lose their properties because of these requirements that the state of California and Los Angeles is implementing. And so it's pretty wild to see. Insurance doesn't cover any of that. So it's on the homeowner's property. And it's real quick to say, I don't feel bad for rich people. They got these, multi-million-dollar homes in Malibu, but a lot of these people are hardworking people. They work their whole lives. Maybe they got these homes a few years back where before prices really skyrocketed, and now they're going to lose their dreams. Because of all this red tape, and not only on the financial side, but on the time side out there. They're saying the permitting and just the red tape and what you're going to have to go through just to be able to put that $3-4 million into the foundation. It could take years and years to be able to go through all that. And so, we'll see what goes on with all that, but it's sad for those people that live out there for sure. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Justin's talking about, would the Federal Reserve ever actually be eliminated? I don't think so. I think it's too big and powerful at this point, but you never know. Okay, we got some talk about infinite banking over in the chat room. I love it. Chris Bizub saying he needs rate cuts ASAP. Of course, Chris deals in the real estate investment space with multifamily properties and other stuff. So Chris is looking probably to refi some properties at lower rates. And there's a lot of people in that same position right now, Chris. When we look at the U.S. economy, and again, I mentioned it about real estate a minute ago. I'll pull that up right now and just kind of share with you. I saw this chart the other day. I thought it was pretty interesting. And so what this is showing, it's showing estimated number of U.S. home buyers and sellers actively in the housing market. This is according to Redfin. In June of 2025, a couple months ago, there were 508,000 more U.S. home sellers than U.S. home buyers. And if we look at the chart right here, you can see, you guys can see my cursor, right? So this goes back to 2013. So the last 12 years. Of course, in 2013 was, a few years beyond the housing crash of 2008. Remember, we really saw home prices drop in 2008 and just really crash. Going into 2009, 2010, we continue to see the markets in local areas figure out where prices are going to continue to go down, or do they finally start to stabilize? Then around 2010, 2011, we kind of saw that stabilization of where prices were, and home prices seemed to stay pretty down. And at that point, they slowly started to rise again as people got back into the markets, as people cleared up their credit, as new buyers came into the markets. We finally started to see the housing market come back up around 2012, 2013, 14, 15. Of course, we saw home prices continue to rise until about 2019. 2019, they started to slow down again. 2020 hit. Of course, COVID went like this over a couple months, and then just hockey stick. Home prices just doubled after COVID in a lot of areas. And so, if we look back to 2013, you can kind of see that, how that occurred. Of course, the blue line right here are sellers. The gold line, the yellow line are buyers. And so you can see that, 2013, 2014, where you got a lot of really good prices on houses. Why? Because there was a lot more people selling houses than there were buying houses. And anytime you see more sellers than buyers, it creates what's called a buyer's market. Because there's so few buyers for all of those properties, for people selling, buyers really have their pick of what they want to buy. And it gives them a lot of negotiating power when you have options. It's when you reverse things like we saw, again, I just talked about this in 2020. So look, right after COVID happened in 2020, and then 21, 22, and house prices doubled. Why did home prices shoot up like that? Well, the gold line again is buyers. So look how many buyers we had. Everybody was trying to buy. Why? Because interest rates were zero. Remember, they dropped interest rates when COVID happened to get the economy booming again. So you could get mortgages back then 2.5%. Everybody was looking to buy a home, and there was a lot of people moving too. But look what happened down here with sellers. Not a lot of sellers. Not a lot of people wanted to get rid of their properties, and so it created a market where home prices shot up. There's a lot more buyers than sellers. And so sellers could demand prices. Sellers could demand the terms. And you saw that start to close down around 2023. And you can see ever since, I don't know, maybe around last summer or so, over the last year or so, we've started to continue to see, again, what happened back then. Home prices have not followed. One of the reasons home prices have not followed like we saw back then is because interest rates are so high now. The difference was back then, 2013, interest rates were very, very, very low. You could get 3-4% mortgages back then. Today, what's the average mortgage rate right now? 7.5%. So we have 7.5% rates. So nobody wants to give up their properties at 2 and 3% rates to get into a 7-8% mortgage. So what it's caused is few buyers and sellers are going up. So we'll see where that goes. I just thought that was an interesting trend. And, Chris, that reminded me of that right there. All right, cool. All right, let me keep going through some of these comments because these are great comments we have coming in here. We'll have to pay for low income people's health care. So why? Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, Justin was saying, same boat, single mom, 2 kids, but my mom's always bought essential items, never even named brand stuff today's age. Yeah, it's a different world today for sure. All right, so still talking about the food stamps. I think you mentioned someone on your team works in Santa Cruz. We do have some people out in the California area. Carson's out there, northern San Diego, and that whole area between San Diego and LA. Jim said, different take than Chris. I'm actually fine with rates staying up. We'll force selling at a discount, and that's where I want to buy. So we'll see what happens with those home prices. All right, cool. All right, so let's keep going with the news. Of course, we're talking about the economy. Let me see if there's anything else we have coming in on that. All right, let's get into the U.S.
Hey, are you ready to take control of your financial future? Welcome to Private Money Club. Private Money Club is the ultimate online platform connecting real estate entrepreneurs with private money lenders just like you. Whether you're looking to fund your next deal or lend money to grow your wealth, Private Money Club is your go-to resource. You can post deals, find funding, connect with other like-minded professionals. It's just a community. It's a community that you need to plug into. If you're new to the game, no problem. Our Learn platform and our weekly coaching webinars and our on-demand resources are here to guide you every step of the way. Join a thriving network of real estate experts who are already making an impact, and they're waiting to partner with you. So Private Money Club gives you the tools, the training, the connections, and everything you need to achieve your financial goals. So why don't you start now by going to privatemoneyclub.com. We'll see you inside.
My fellow Americans,
So you know the game.
All right, so what is going on in the USA? What stories have you all seen going on this week? I know the big story again here coming out this weekend is the Trump administration deploying the National Guard into Washington, D.C. So if you missed this, Trump deployed the National Guard and declared federal control of the D.C. Police Department. Here's how he is able to do it. So the National Guard began appearing in the nation's capital on Tuesday after President Trump announced the day earlier his deploying Guard troops and placing Washington, D.C.'s police department under direct federal control, citing a public safety emergency after an assault on a former government worker. Of course, the assault that he speaks of was on the Doge employee. If you remember when Elon Musk started Doge, which was the Department of Government Efficiency, where they started going in and trying to find waste and fraud and abuse in the federal spending. Of course, they, have come out with a lot of details about U.S. aid and, kind of how that's just a big Ponzi scheme and scam. There's been all kinds of revelations of different, different what they call NGOs, non-government organizations that use this government money for all kinds of nefarious causes and different political reasons and things like that. It's just really opened up the eyes to how corrupt and just what a scam a lot of that is, and a lot of wasted tax dollars go to. But nonetheless, one of the Doge employees that was really diving into it, a very, very smart young man, but goes by the online handle Big Balls. Yes, I said Big Balls. So basically what happened last week, Big Balls was, I believe, on a date with his girlfriend in Washington, D.C. They left a restaurant and they saw somebody else being harassed. And he stepped in to help this individual. And when he stepped in to help the individual, he was attacked by a group of young people, and he was beaten pretty bad. The video and the photos, black eyes, blood all over him. His clothes were very tattered. He was beat pretty bad in there, right downtown Washington, D.C. And so that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. The crime in Washington, D.C. has been running rampant for decades at this point. There's videos of Joe Biden years ago in a speech saying that he hauls ass and speeds when he leaves Washington, D.C. because he's scared of getting carjacked. He's scared of getting mugged. And, there's just politician after politician and and news anchor and journalist after news journalist that all live in DC or work in Washington, DC, that at this point, every single one of them seems to have a story of either knowing somebody or witnessing somebody or them themselves being mugged or being harassed or being robbed, being carjacked. They all have their own stories. It's all been coming out. The police department, the police union in Washington, D.C. Has come out and backed this move, that they're all for it, saying, this is long overdue. But let me read you what CNN is reporting here on what's going on with this. So CNN observed 5 armed personnel carriers near the Washington Monument on Tuesday evening. The DC National Guard reports only to the President of the United States. The city's status as a district, not a state, allows the president and in turn the federal government more leeway in directing troops and a range of federal authorities. Trump's additional move to take over the DC Police Department draws on the sweeping but temporary powers granted under the Home Rule Act of 1973, a law that balances local self-governance with federal oversight in the Capitol. While the president can assume control of the police department for up to 30 days with congressional notice, any request to control it for longer must be passed into law. Trump's announcement on Monday came after the assault of 19-year-old former government Doge worker during attempted carjacking on August 3rd. While Trump has repeatedly criticized what he describes as surge in violence in Washington, overall crime numbers this year are lower than last year. That is a highly contested number. According to the Washington Police Department, they say that crime is down in DC. However, the Washington DC police commander was just suspended for supposedly reporting completely fake numbers. I guess he's been putting out crime data that is not real, to try and make it look like crime is down in DC. Again, everybody that lives there, works there, is in DC, says it's horrible, says it's bad. According to the federal government, DC has the highest murder rate per capita as anywhere by far in the United States. And they even start comparing it to some third world countries where the murder rate in DC per capita is worse than a lot of these places around the globe. And so it's not good. I mean, Washington, DC is, of course, the capital of the United States of America. I've spent a lot of time in DC. I think it's an absolutely beautiful city. The monuments, the museums, the landscape, just walking and biking around DC, it's a really amazing thing. But when there's just unbelievable crime, I mean, people say, do not walk outside after 8 p.m. If you do, you will be robbed. That's not the way to kind of represent the United States of America. And so I think a lot of people on both sides of the Democratic aisle are all for DC getting cleaned up right now. So we'll see where this goes and what happens with it. Does this spread to other cities? Should this spread? Should Trump look at, using the National Guard in places like Chicago? Of course, Chicago's crime rate is just horrible, absolutely terrible for, one of the major cities in the United States of America. So is he going to implement this in other places like Chicago? Should he? I don't know. What do you guys think? But to me, this makes all the sense in the world to do it in Washington, D.C. And I'm glad he's doing it. We'll see what happens. We'll see if they can get it under control and make a permanent change. That's the ultimate goal. Can this be a permanent thing? All right, so we'll keep a close eye on this, and I'll definitely continue to report on it, each one of the weeks moving forward. All right, so what else is going on? I saw this, Brent Kessler just shared an article this morning with us, and I'll bring it up. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but it was on Fox and Friends this morning. But you have they had Eric and Donald Trump Jr. along with Steve Witkoff's son Zach Witkoff, and they were talking about crypto, but more importantly, they were talking about banking in this country and how hard it is to work with banks and how banks, when you bank with a traditional bank, you're giving up control of your money. And they were talking all about that on this segment this morning. And so I'm definitely going to watch it after What the F, and we'll talk about it next week. But if you get a chance, go check it out. It was just this morning on Fox and Friends. If you Google it, you could find this article. But really interesting to Brent was saying it's very interesting to hear what they're saying about banking, because as you guys know, this is all stuff that we talk about all the time when it comes to IBC and becoming your own bank. And so definitely check that out. And it kind of leads into some of these other articles that I have for you. So this was just a few days ago. Trump opens the door for crypto and private equity in your 401k retirement plan, which I'm going to talk about 401ks in a minute, because I saw a video that Tony Robbins put out talking about 401ks that I thought was interesting. But as you guys know, if you've been following us for a while, we talk a lot about 401ks and retirement accounts. One of the challenges with 401ks is, you're giving up control of your money. Now, a lot of companies do what's called a 401k match, which is great. It's excellent. So, in those cases where you get a really good match, we typically are of the opinion that 401ks can be good. But again, if you take money out of the 401k early, you're going to pay a penalty. You're going to pay taxes at that time when you pull the money out. And you are limited in a 401k in what you can invest in. About something like 98% of 401ks only allow you to invest in various index funds or different types of funds that they offer through the 401k. And 99% of them are tied to the stock market. So a lot of people might want to get into real estate investing or private equity or private money lending, things of that nature. Now, of course, with a self-directed IRA, you can do all that in your retirement accounts, but most 401ks restrict it, and that does include crypto. So Trump is looking to make some moves to open up the door to allow you more options, including private equity in your 401k plans. The argument against that in the past has been these are very high risk, typically investments set aside for what are called accredited investors. But this day and age, with as much education that's out there, as many resources as all of us have access to me, it makes sense to open things like this up to 401ks. So President Trump on Thursday signed an executive order that could allow millions of Americans saving for retirement through 401k accounts to invest in higher risk private equity and cryptocurrency assets. The EO doesn't immediately change how people will invest for retirement through their employer-sponsored accounts, as federal agencies would need to rewrite regulations to allow expanded investment choices. That's a process that experts could say could take months or longer to complete. But once done, employers could offer a broader array of mutual funds and investments to workers, according to the White House. New plans could invest in alternative assets. Of course, this is what we teach all day, every day, particularly private equity, cryptocurrencies, and of course, real estate, like I just mentioned. So what do you think? Should everyday Americans be able to use their 401ks to invest in alternative investments like this? Or should we continue to limit that to mutual funds and index funds like most 401ks do today? You tell me what you think. And while you guys are telling me what you think, let me pull up what this video from Tony Robbins.
Amazing thing. You are a board member at America's Best 401k. Yes. And you specifically look into the fees that people pay at 401ks and the fact that most people don't even know that they pay a fee.
This is the most amazing thing. It's a $4.4 trillion industry that for 30 years, they didn't have to tell you what they were charging you. Only 3 years ago, the Department of Labor changed the rules and said, you got to tell people what you charge them. So now they do that by giving you a 35 or 50-page disclosure document that if you have a PhD in finance, maybe you can figure out the hidden fees.
Yeah, good luck.
So here's what you have to know. Most people, 58% of the people don't even think there are any fees. I did 3 core messages for your viewer. 1, fees matter and you're paying them. A 1% in fee, because of the compounding over time, costs you 10 years of retirement income. The average person thinks they're paying less than 1% or nothing, and they're paying 3.1%. That's 30 years of fees. So I'll give you an example. If you have a 35-year-old person, they have $100,000 and they put it in the market and they let it compound for 30 years till they're going to retire, and they're paying 1% in fees, They have $761,000, which is a nice growth from that time. But if you paid 3% in fees for the same stocks, you have $432,000. So in other words, you have 76% more money if you have less fees. Or in the other view, you have 19 years less income. So people don't understand that fees matter.
You are a
All right. So that's Tony Robbins talking about 401ks. Of course, this is the stuff that we teach all day, every day. And so if you'd like to learn more how to take back control of your money, get out of this traditional system of investing through, traditional means like mutual funds and 401ks and using financial advisors, we're here to teach you this stuff. We have 2 events coming up here later this year that I would highly recommend that you definitely get registered for. So first off, we have a 2-day infinite banking, becoming your own bank, taking back control of your money, a virtual event. So no travel required. You could sit on your phone, sit on your computer. You can watch us for the 2 days. It's going to be about 6 hours each day. It's going to be a lot of education, a lot of content on how to take back control of your money, take advantage of the infinite banking concept, as well as alternative investments. So put it on your calendars. That's going to be coming September 12th and September 13th. And we will have the registration links for that event to you very, very soon. We'll actually have those available later today. So if you join us for Wealth Webinar or the Ask Me Anything later today, we will be diving into, I will be sharing with you the link to register for that event. It's going to be a very inexpensive, and we're doing something fun. We're actually going to do a giveaway for this event. So anybody that registers, that's there with us on the end of the second day, we're going to do a drawing to give away tickets to the Private Money Club Money Tank event, as well as $2,500 in cash. So we're going to do something really, really cool that we've never done before. This is kind of our old Money School Essentials 3-day training that we've been doing for 5 years. We just reimagined it a little bit and made it into a 2-day virtual training event, September 12th and September 13th. So you're not going to want to miss that virtual training. And then, like I just mentioned, we do have the Private Money Club Money Tank event. That's our biannual event. It's our flagship event. We do a Private Money Club, Orlando, Florida. And that one is October 7th and October 8th. November 7th and November 8th, Money Tank, Orlando, Florida. And we are going to do something really cool for that event. We're going to actually do 4 or 5 Zoom calls with all Money Tank ticket holders prior to meeting in person in Orlando in November. So buy your ticket for Money Tank now. It's privatemoneyclub.com/Money Tank. But get your ticket now. We'll send you the invites to get on those Zoom calls before we even meet in Orlando, because Money Tank is not just another seminar where you're there learning and getting a bunch of hypothetical education. It's where deals actually occur. Deals are going on people are partnering together. People are lending money. People are getting deals funded at Money Tank in Orlando. So be there, but join us ahead of time for the Zoom calls, because you're going to be able to build relationships, get to know some of the other attendees before we even show up in person. So it's going to be an awesome event. privatemoneyclub.com/Money Tank to get your ticket. Though I do want to mention, we do have a room block. So we're staying at a beautiful resort. It's a Universal Studios resort property right there, basically connected to Universal Studios, right on the water right there in Orlando. And we have an incredible discount through this room block. So get your room registered, your ticket and your room bought before, I think it's October 3rd. So make sure you get that done, because it's like $200 and some for the per night for the hotel. But if you go on Expedia right now, it's like almost $600 a night. So you get a huge savings by going through our room block. So make sure you get that done as well. And I know a lot of people are actually bringing their families with them because the resort's beautiful. They can play at the pool all day. There's like a lazy river and all that stuff going on there, connected to Universal Studios. They have discount on park tickets if you actually want to go over there. So a lot of people are going to be attending Money Tank during the day and have their families out playing, and then of course hanging out in the evenings all together. So going to be really, really cool. If anybody has any questions on that, just reach out to Shauna on our team and she can answer those. Shauna@chrisnoggle.com. But you can go to privatemoneyclub.com right now to get those tickets. And with that being said, let's move over to the next category, which is, of course, the world. So I'll be right back in 37 seconds.
Money making money making money.
Come on, you gotta tell me, how is this even possible?
It's easy. 1, take your money and you put it in this secret spot. 2, you let that money grow with compound interest. 3, then you find a place for that money to go where it can work for you. 4, and then every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, you join me for a wealth webinar.
I'll do it.
It's free. Plus, if you join me now, you'll get my free ebook that teaches you to get all the money back for every car you buy, drive, and own. So take advantage of this opportunity, and I'll see you there.
All right, cool. Before we get into world news, let me just see if we got any comments coming in. Lynn Green out in California said she thinks they should deploy the federal guard in Los Angeles. Interesting. I don't think, Morgan said, I don't think he has as much latitude in states as he does in Washington, D.C. Yeah, that's what that article was saying a little bit. He's got a lot more leniency in what he can do in D.C. since it's not a state and it's a territory. Morgan said Newsom is threatening to gerrymander all blue states if GOP does not back down. I mean, they already do that, Morgan, right? So I don't know if they could do it any worse, but you know, and it goes both ways. I'd like to see more of the Republican states, like Texas is doing right now, kind of go at it too. So it goes both ways. Shane said, do we know who's actually controlling crypto? Is it just the whales? Yeah, I mean, you know, we talk a lot about crypto. I know we'll talk a lot about it on that virtual event coming up on September 12th and 13th. We've talked a lot about it in the past. Crypto seems to always follow the markets. So the Dow Jones and S&P are on all-time highs right now, basically. Crypto's on all-time highs right now. As the market pulls back and drops, seems Bitcoin seems to follow it, which, you know, that tends to, in my opinion, point towards, you know, the whales and institutions are really controlling the price. But if one day that you know, reciprocal cycle breaks and they go opposite, you know, maybe that's when Bitcoin actually does finally break out. But it's done a lot better than I ever thought it would over the last couple of years. So if you've been in crypto, congratulations. Shane said Carson has a great breakdown on Take Back Control Tuesday that shows how fees affect the penny, doubling each day or taking $1 million up front. Yeah, when you start looking at compounding interest, which is what Tony Robbins was talking about on that video, you know, and Albert Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. When you learn how compounding interest really truly works, and not only works, but when you learn how to implement it and take advantage of it, which is what we do with becoming your own bank and the infinite banking concept, it really opens the world to what you can do financially. So really cool to see people talking about it that way. Yeah, Sean was saying 5 bonus sessions for sure, starting the Monday after Labor Day. So those are going to be those bonus sessions for those of you that buy Money Tank tickets. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tess said, great idea. Get the group together early. Absolutely. Shane said, I like how Chris shows up in the third Thursday of the month, PMC Zoom. He helps kick it off. But is there an investor? Is there like an investor? Yeah. So what Shane is talking about is Private Money Club Premier members, which is an annual membership that some PMC members pay. We do a monthly 2-hour mastermind Zoom where it's a meeting. So everybody's on screen with their videos and microphones, but it's 2 hours of all the Premier members. And what we do is we talk about deals. We talk about what's working. We all help each other. And what Chris does is as founder of PMC, Chris kicks the call off, but then Chris turns over into investor mode because Chris obviously also does a lot of private money lending and involved in a lot of real estate deals. So he acts more like a member of PMC as opposed to an owner of PMC at that point, which, yeah, Shane, very, very cool, right? Shauna said, don't wait to the last minute to get your Money Tank tickets. Okay, cool. You want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. Absolutely. All right, cool. So let me pull up this article here talking about world news. All right, so what to know about the Putin-Trump summit in Alaska? The U.S.-Russia summit in Alaska is happening at a site where East meets West, quite literally, in a place familiar to both countries as a Cold War frontline of missile defense, radar outposts, and intelligence gathering. Whether it can lead to a deal to produce peace in Ukraine more than 3.5 years after Moscow's invasion remains to be seen. Here's what to know about the meeting between Putin and President Trump. The first summit in 4 years. So they haven't done this since the war broke out between Ukraine and Russia. So the summit will take place on Friday in Alaska, although they haven't announced exactly where it will be held. It will be Putin's first trip to the United States since 2015 for the UN General Assembly in New York. Since the U.S. is not a member of the International Criminal Court, which in 2023 issued a warrant for Putin on war crime accusations, it is under no obligation to arrest him. Both countries confirmed in a meeting between the meeting is only between Putin and Trump, and Zelensky will not be part of that, even though there were initial suggestions that he might be there. But the Kremlin has long pushed back against Putin meeting Zelensky, at least until a peace deal is reached between the two countries. Putin said last week he wasn't against meeting Zelensky, but certain conditions need to be created for it to happen, and they're still a long ways off. In other global news, Trump extends the China tariff deadline by another 90 days. So if you remember, Trump put put very high tariffs on China when he first announced the what do you call it, not Independence Day, but Liberation Day. When he came out with all these tariffs, and then of course a few days later they started putting holds on them. Over the last several weeks, they've come out with a bunch of tariff deals in a lot of these countries, and China still doesn't have a long-term deal in place, but they have decided to extend that deadline for another 90 days. So President Trump has signed an executive order that will prevent high U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods from snapping back into effect for another 90 days. That's, of course, what I was just talking about. The order was signed just hours before the pause was set to expire. The delay was the expected outcome from the latest round of talks between the U.S. And China, which took place in Stockholm just a few weeks ago. So we'll see if a deal can be met there. What happens? Of course, China is one of our largest competitors when it comes to really everything, manufacturing, and really looking at technology and AI. I mean, China's always been known to steal IP and everything the U.S. innovates, but we'll see where that goes. All right, what's going on? What else is going on in world news? Israel plans to do a full takeover. Netanyahu expands scope of planned Gaza takeover, says Israel has no choice but to finish the job. It seems like nobody really wants to take over Gaza over there. So we'll continue to take an eye on that, but really continues to be a divisive subject in the United States between political parties and really interpolitical parties too. China and the U.S. clashed at the UN over the Panama Canal, a focus of Trump's attention currently. Of course, the Panama Canal is a huge trade route for global trade and container ships that come to the U.S. The United States and China clashed over the Panama Canal in the United States on Monday, with the U.S. warning that Beijing's influence over the key waterway could threaten global trade and security, and China calling U.S. accusations a pretext to take over the canal. The worry there is if China decided to take it over and close down the Panama Canal, that would highly disrupt our shipping lanes and would really increase prices and not be good for the United States or anybody. So, basically Trump's like, hey, we should control the Panama Canal. We're the ones who helped build it back in the day and whatnot. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Just seems like China and U.S. are butting heads everywhere we look right now. All right, cool. So the last 3-4 minutes here, I got a couple different What the F videos. So let me play this quick little What the F 5 seconds, and we'll wrap up with a couple of fun What the F. What the What the fuck? I always like that. It always makes me laugh. All right, so I got a few little rundown here to close the show today. First off, I'm just going to share them as we go. All right, so who remembers the AOL dial-up internet service? Remember, we used to get the CDs in the mail. I mean, you used to get like 3 or 4 of these things in the mail every week, it seemed like. But after 34 years in operation, the famous dial-up modem handshake sound burned into our memories will now become a relic of the past. So after 34 years, of course, this is what we all grew up on, as kids, clicking the button, sitting there waiting for the phone line to connect to the internet. Of course, your friends couldn't call us. There was no cell phones back then, mobile phones. Nobody could use the phone when somebody else was on the internet. And then it came where, we had 2 phone lines in the house. Now we had a dedicated phone line for the internet so people could still make calls. But regardless, you'd hit the button, it would call in, it would use the phone line, it would beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, boop, right? Not the best at imitations, but it'd make those funny sounds. People like, some of the younger people like Sean on here might not remember some of this stuff, but who remembers this ringtone? I mean, it's burned into my memory for sure. But let me play this because I think it's kind of funny. 29 seconds. Here we go. Dialing in. There it is. All right, and then once you're connected, of course, the famous next sound that you would heard would be "You've got mail," right? Because we all had AOL back then. But nonetheless, I thought that was pretty fun little What the F video. 34 years, and AOL is finally done with the dial-up service. I saw this video. I thought this was pretty cool. We have Little League starting up here in next week, actually, already. We start Little League. Of course, I coach. I'm a member of the board at our local Little League. Big baseball fan myself, but this is a video that came out of Texas this week that I thought was pretty what the F-y. So I'm going to play this for you guys because I thought it was kind of cool. Hold on. All right. Just like that, it was over. The kid runs back to third base, and the outfielders remain right in their position. So I guess in Texas, maybe those kinds of little dirt devils, or what do they call them? Dirt devils, right? I guess those happen all the time. I'm not sure, but it's pretty wild to see. I've never really seen that right in the middle of a Little League baseball game. So glad it looked like everybody was okay there. All right. With that said, I got one last video that I just found super fun when I watched this. Rural America, or as people say, America. I love it. I thought this was a really cool video. I'm going to play it for you guys now. Make sure this thing loads up. All right, let me play this last video for you. We're going to end with this one, and I'll be right back to close out the show. Why is it not playing? All right, let me try one more time. I'm not sure why that's not playing. Weird, it's just spinning. Let me try a different window. Okay, here we go. I got it to play in another window. Give me 1 second, and we will get this baby rocking. All right, guys, it's been great seeing everybody. I can let you log off. This is a minute-long video I'm going to play, and then I'll close out the show. But appreciate everybody being here. If you hop off before the end of this, I'd recommend sticking around. It's pretty cool. Let me know what you think over in the comments. But this is, to me, the heart of America. So this was a young couple that was visiting from Britain, from the UK, their first time in America, and this was their experience when they went to check out the local waterways. Oops, wrong one. But to me, this is what America's all about.
First time I've ever seen that. Really? The UK. I came here looking for an alligator. I've never seen one before. You don't mind?
From the UK looking for an alligator. First time. I invite them out on the boat.
Good. Thank you. Texas vodka. Texas vodka. Oh, he's coming this way. Oh, dear. I've never shot a gun in my life. You want wow. I like this boat. This boat's real nice. The thing about this boat is the owner of this boat picked two strangers up and took us for this experience. And he filled the bottle up with bullets. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you all. Thank you. This has been one of the most amazing days of our lives. These are some of the greatest people in the world.
So there you have it. Just a fun video. That's what America's all about. You always see those memes like the European mind can't process what goes on in the U.S. at times. So he's out there riding around the boats, swinging off swings, swimming in the river, shooting guns, drinking beer, having a great time. And that's what America's all about. So appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you, guys. It was a fun What the F. We missed Chris. He should be back next week. Again, we'll be back here at 1 p.m. Eastern for Wealth Webinar. Wednesdays, we're getting into all-in-one mortgages, how we can funnel that through and take advantage of that equity that's sitting around in a lot of our homes right now. Go over to chrisnoggle.com, scroll down the page, Wealth Webinar. It's a free event. And we'll be back to answer all your questions at 4:30 as well for Ask Me Anything. Happy hour today as well right here on YouTube and Facebook. So appreciate everybody being here. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Have a great time. Thank you. Bye.